Like many small towns across New England, Westerly's downtown has faced many challenges throughout its history, including wars, recessions, the recent COVID pandemic, and the rise of strip malls and big box stores. In the early part of the 20th century, on Friday nights, downtown Westerly was thronged with people. They dressed up and came from miles around to shop, socialize, or take in a show, much like the thriving downtown we have today. Only one retail store is still in business that went through all these historic changes. Toscana's Men's Shop has become an institution serving generations of customers for over 100 years. It is owned and operated by Paul Gencarella. This is his story.
Good morning, Tom Galusho here, Westerly Historical Society, and our continuing oral history program called Reflections. And I have the distinct pleasure of being with an old friend this morning, Paul Gencarella. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Tom.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
I've been looking forward to this day for
Right,
quite a while.
Yeah, right. We've been back and forth.
We
right.
certainly have.
All
So,
right.
Paul, as I start most of these interviews, I ask our subjects, how did you get to be? So
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about your grandparents and parents.
All right. Well, my grandparents I don't know that much about because my parents came from Italy. So naturally, my grandparents were in Italy. So I don't know my grandparents,
Okay.
neither one. But my parents both were born in Italy and came over to Ellis Island, came in legally.
Yeah.
They waited in line and signed all their papers and everything, and moved into it. My uncles, my mother's brothers were already here, so we went to the old homestead on top of High Street, and it was an old farm at that time. Now it certainly doesn't look like a farm now, it's all houses, but at that time it was a farm with animals, and we lived there, and that's where I was born and grew up in top of High Street. I'm the last of 11 kids.
Wow.
I have I had 6 brothers and 4 sisters, and I was the first one to be born in a hospital. All my siblings, they all, with midwives at home.
Sure.
That's how they did it in those days. But me being the last one, I was born in a hospital. And we lived on top of High Street where my mom and dad built a home, which is still there now. We don't own it anymore. But it's right on top of High Street, 238 to be exact.
Okay.
And that's where I was born and grew up and lived all my life until I got married on top of High Street.
What did your folks do?
My father was not a laborer. He worked in the mills, the fabric mills.
Okay.
He worked at Moore's for a while, and then he went to, and I don't know if it's still there or not, Griswold in White Rock.
Still there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where he lived. My mother, to be honest with you, could not read or write. She came over as an immigrant, never learned to read or write, but she did become a citizen. It was a job. We had to find the right judge that was lenient enough not to be asking her, questions that I couldn't even answer.
Sure.
But she finally found a judge that was lenient enough, and she became a citizen. My dad had no trouble because he was illiterate. He could read and write, and he worked all his life. And we lived up on top of High Street. And like I say, I was born and raised up there. I went to High Street School till the 6th grade. It's now an apartment building.
Yep.
But that's where I went to school. Then after that, I went to Babcock Junior High, and then from there to Westerly High School, where I graduated in 1962. I wasn't a great student because just didn't apply myself, and I just couldn't wait to get out of school and get out on my own.
In the real world.
In the real world is right. And I did flounder for a couple of years, going from job to job. I worked at Yardney's for a little while, and just all odd jobs and nothing really substantial. And one day my sister said to me, she said, you know, Vincent Toscano, she was married to Vincent Toscano's brother,
Okay.
John,
yeah.
the lawyer.
Yep.
And she said, you know, they're looking for some help down there. Why don't you go down there and get yourself a job? And I said, really? I don't really want to work in the store, and I don't know nothing. You got to do something. Go down there. So I went and talked to Vinny, and he hired me. And I said to myself when he gave me the job, I said, well, I ain't going to end up staying here because I'm just not going to like this kind of business. And over 50 years later, here I am in the same spot. But I've worked there all my life.
It's hard to imagine Toscano's without Paul Gencarella.
Yeah, well, like
this
I
whole
said,
generation
in 1964 I started.
became more than just a career. It became your
a
life, a legacy.
You got that right. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I've seen so many changes downtown. I've been from when it's been way up here, then it went way down here, and now it's back up there. I mean, it's just crazy. Like I was telling you earlier, we were the only retail shop on Canal Street. You know, downtown was always downtown. High Street was always had retail. But we were the only retail shop. There were other businesses, but they were eye doctors, lawyers, and then it just evolved from there.
Well, you've survived the introduction
Yeah,
of malls,
like I tell people,
and
right.
internet and all that. You're
I'll
still
tell
a
you,
staple here.
when I first started in 1964, there were 5 men's shops down here. Bob Murren's, Kenyon's, Tani's, Travado's, and us. And all making a living, all within walk. Matter of fact, I can remember going on the train with Bob Burns. We'd be going to Providence for a buying show and things. Everybody was friendly. I was friendly with Bob Beatty when he worked at Kenyon's. We were all good friends, and we're all making a living. But that was before there were malls. There was no Warwick Mall, no Rhode Island Mall, no Crystal Mall.
Sure.
So when they came, and business took a little dip, and a lot of them, you know, like Kenyons, like Bob Beatty, and them, they just got to the age where they had enough, and they just end up closing, either closing up or dying, you know. So I ended up being here all by myself. And it was tough at first, because we went through some hard times. They invented Dress Down Friday. Nobody knows who invented Dress Down Friday, but that son of a gun practically put every business, you know, it just, I don't know where they came up with that bright idea that you don't have to dress up on Friday. And they were going to work in jeans, cutoffs, and a lot of companies had to put a stop to it. Say, no, that's it, no more Dress Down Friday. But unfortunately, the casualness stayed. I mean, if you look at some, and it never ceases to amaze me, if you go back to the 30s and 40s and look at a baseball game, and you look out into the stands,
Everybody dressed.
they're wearing a suit.
Tie
They're wearing a suit
and
and
a
a
hat.
hat. And you go, you watch golfers, the old-time golfers, playing golf in a shirt and tie. I mean, that was, but not anymore.
Photographs of the beach.
Right.
People were dressed in
Right,
jackets
exactly. And just in this store alone, you probably can't see it, but that case, which is a pretty big case, at one time was all hats. When you bought a suit, you bought a hat. My father was never left the house without a dress hat on. It's how the old timers were. So you know who killed that? Let me tell you, I'm going to tell you who killed that. John Kennedy.
Really?
Right. When he got inaugurated, it was in January, it was about 6 below zero. He came to get inaugurated without a hat or a top coat. Wanted to show people how sterile he was and what a tough guy he was. Killed the hat business. Practically put Stetson out of business.
Wow.
If it wasn't for cowboy hats, Stetson probably would have closed up. But they're coming back slowly again. It's coming back into, you know. But that I'm telling you, people think I'm crazy when I tell them that story, but that's true. That's exactly what happened, and other people will admit it. That, you know, he wanted that day, wanted to show you how a strong man he was going to be. No hat, no top coat in January. So that's that.
Interesting.
So, but I kept plugging along, And what became a boon to me in the store is the rental business, renting tuxedos for proms and weddings. And that steadily, I was able to really build that up until it became probably almost half my income in the store was from rental property. It was just an amazing thing that, people got married. You had to wear a tuxedo. You had to rent a tuxedo. And I was the only one here. I mean, there were certainly other people that they could have went for a rental. Sure. But that was a big part of my business. And then,
I've been coming in here for the better part of 50 years.
That's what it is,
for
too.
Communion, confirmation suits.
It's unbelievable. People will come in and bring their son to pick out a prom and say, you did my prom, too. You did my wedding, too. So I said, yeah, you're aging me.
I come in with my grandfather.
Right. Exactly.
And buy things.
It was unbelievable. And you charge it, put it on the books. Come in and pay so much a week,
One of my favorite parts was having a godmother whose husband ran a men's store.
Because
every Christmas I'd get one of the most handsome sweaters or dress shirts, and I know who was picking them out.
Exactly.
And I always appreciated that. So talking about my infamous godmother, tell us how you met Miss Rose.
Okay, and like I was telling you earlier, it was your mother who did it. Your mother and my wife were the best of friends. Grew up together in New London, and then she moved to Westerly, your mother, and they had some kind of a party. Like you said, it probably was your christening. I'm not sure. But after the christening, my wife and your mother went to Roxy's, which was my old hangout. I spent a lot of time at Roxy's, and that's where I met my wife. And it just developed from there. I said, oh, geez, and between your mother and everything, fixing this up. And I started to date her. And, we dated for a year or so. We got engaged, and then we got married.
You married Miss Rose, and you started a family,
got
and
married,
moved out
started
to Duns
a family.
Corners?
Right. No, I didn't move out to Duns Corners. When I married Rose, she worked in the police department. And in the London Police Department, she took care of all the parking tickets and everything. She wasn't a policewoman. She took care of the administrator. Right. And in those days, if you worked in the police department in London, you had to live in Connecticut.
Okay.
So my brother-in-law, Rose's brother, and his brother owned a trailer. And it was located in Legend. And they weren't using it, and they said, if you want to live there, he said, you can have the trailer. So my wife, we lived in a trailer. And let me tell you, it was not your real high-class. The people next door didn't even have indoor plumbing. I mean, that's how rural it was, let me tell you. It was out in a no man's land, and it was unbelievable. I'd have to go out there and make sure the heat would go on because it would freeze up. It was an adventure. It really, really was. But we were able to save money. I mean,
Sure.
You can tell that in the trailer the utilities are not going to be very much. I mean, the electric bill was probably $10. So it was. All you had to do was just keep oil in the tank, and so we lived there. And then she finally left the department, and from my uncle Sam Urso. We bought a where your mother lives now.
Yeah.
I saw him, I told him, I'm working, I'm ready, I want to build a house. And so he took me there to Duns Corners and showed me some lots. He said, down here, I can give it to you for so much. If you want to go up on top of the hill, it'll be so much. But I liked that house. It was on the corner, and it was a little larger than the rest of the lots because the guy next door only wanted a half of the property. So we ended up with a good size, almost an acre of land, and I purchased it from him, and I paid him every once in a while. I'd have an envelope, and I'd knock on his door, Uncle Sam, here it is, until I finally got it paid off.
That's the same story my father says.
Right,
Yep.
exactly. From he was an unbelievable generous man. I mean, he donated the land where the school is.
Sure.
And he owned all that property. But anyways, in 1972, we built a house. My brother built the house. He worked for Sam as a carpenter, and we put the foundation in, and my brother, John, who is deceased, built the house for us. My brother Butch, Sam, worked for my other uncle, Joe Urso, as a plumber.
Okay.
So there's my plumber. My other brother, one of the probably between him and my sister Nancy, probably the two smartest people in our family, he was an electrical engineer, so there's my electrician.
Nice.
So I probably built that whole house. I think I figured it out one time, and I think it was like $35,000 to build a house with electricity, plumbing. Just unbelievable.
So you
So-
were living in Duns Corners, you and Rose.
Right, 1972, built a house,
Yep.
lived there. My wife went to work at McQuaid's Marketplace, and she worked there for 10 years.
I remember going through her
Right,
line.
and
as-
she,
Yep.
it was crazy. I'd come home from work, and she'd leave for work, because in those days it was when he stayed open 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, they changed it. They closed at midnight, I think. But so I'd come home, and she'd go to work. And she, like I said, she stayed there for about 10 years, at least 10 years, worked there. And she enjoyed it very much. She got really close to Eddie McQuaid. He treated us good. He was nice, Eddie.
And that's when you started your family about that
Right,
time.
exactly. I have 2 kids, a girl and a boy. And my daughter is the oldest one. She was born in 1970, I believe. And my son in 1972. And we raised them, sent them to school. My wife was a graduate of St. Bernard's, so she had that instilled in her, that private Catholic,
Okay.
and she wanted her kids to have the same thing.
Very nice.
She thought it was, she thought a little bit of religion isn't going to hurt you. So my kids went to St. Bernard's. Both my kids graduated from St. Bernard's. And then went on to college. My daughter went to St. Bonaventure in Olean, New York, and my son graduated from Assumption.
Okay.
And my daughter, both my kids were smart in school. My daughter stayed up in Albany and went to school to get her master's, and she became a school teacher right off the bat. Teaching special ed or disabled kids, and she started out working in Norwich, and then eventually got a job here in Duns Corners. She
Yeah.
went back to her old
stomping
neighborhood,
grounds,
right?
yeah.
Exactly. And she's still there. She's still working there. She's been there for years.
Great.
And I raised our kids and put them through college, which was not easy. Like I used to tell people, I have to buy 2 Buicks. And they say, why would you buy 2 Buicks? I said, they have a new model. It's called tuition. Today, you'd have to buy 2 Mercedes.
Yeah.
But no, I remortgaged, and I put them through, we got them through school, and it was one of the best things that ever happened. I mean, they got a good education. They're both doing well. So, I mean, if you can't do that for your kids,
Sure.
then
Any regrets going into business for yourself? Now, let's start. How long was Toscano's in business when you started?
all right. Well, when I started, they in the spot where we're sitting now, I'll tell you, Mr. Toscano, Vincent's and my brother-in-law John's father, he was a tailor, and he came over from Italy, and he opened up a tailor shop up above the Washington Trust building. Had a little office there and opened up as a tailor, and that was in 1911.
Wow.
And he lived in this spot. His family lived right where we're sitting now. 1923, I believe it was. It's on the building. I think it's 1923. He took this building, his house, as you see it. You know, don't see it.
Yeah.
Pushed it back If you go walk up into the back of my store, you'll see that house there now. And it's been completely remodeled. It got all into disarray. But he pushed it back, and he lived there, still lived there.
So Mr. Toscano took the homestead
Right,
and
and
moved
pushed
it up to Albion Road.
Them Italians don't throw anything
Nothing away.
Right.
And then
So
they
he
established this building.
built this building. And we opened up, he opened up the men's shop with his son Vincent. And next door was old Smith's flower shop.
Oh, no kidding.
That's where they started, right next
Didn't
door.
know that.
Matter of fact, where we're looking, that used to be where they parked their truck, and that used to be a garage where they parked the truck. Yeah.
Wow.
So, matter of fact, there's even one of the guys that worked there was a Gavitt, and he wrote his initials in there. I forget the date that's on it, 1952 or something like that. But yeah, and it's become. This was always Toscano's men's shop, but next door. We've had a lot of different people there. Matter of fact, my sister opened up a dress shop there called My Fair Lady, and she worked there, had it for years. But it's been a florist shop. It's been, like I said, My Fair Lady. We've had a travel agent in there. We've had numerous ones. It's always been rented. We've been lucky that we've always had it rented.
Okay.
And then in 1962. The first year I came on, where we're sitting is a new addition. We added on because the business was flourishing and we were really doing well, and we added this section on. Other than that, the building has, like I tell people when they come in here, they're going back in time because nothing's changed. It's still the
You
same
started in
setup.
62, so
Right.
you've been here over 60 years.
No, 64 I saw. I'm
64,
sorry.
okay.
It
Well,
was
still.
64. That's what I should have said. That's what we put the, because I was working here when we did the addition. And
Well, if my math's correct, that's still over 60 years.
well, whatever.
So most people only spend about 30 years in a
I
career
know
and
it,
then they retire.
I know it.
Nobody's told you to shut the lights off and go home yet, right?
Yeah, not yet. No, they say, when you're going to retire? I said, when they plant me.
It's a good thing because
Right.
you are Toscanos. You are a big part of Westerly. You've seen an awful lot down
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
And you've told us a little bit about it, but there's been some lean times.
Oh yeah, we
that
went through. I went through some very lean times where I at one time when I owned the store, I had 2 employees, and things got really slow. And the accountant said to me, he says, "You're going to have to, you're going to have to let the help go." He says, "We got to start cutting corners here, or you're not going to make it." I said, "I can't fire them. They've been here for years." He says, "Okay, then." He said, "Then the 3 of you can go, because that's what'll happen." So I reluctantly had to let the 2 guys that I had working for me at the time, and let them go. And I held on. Like I said, it was a lot of, business was just tough in those days. You had the malls were doing everything, and Wesley was had parking. Everybody was complaining, no place to park. We had parking meters, and it was just a tough time. But I stuck it out, and COVID came, and that I said, well, this is going to finish me off now. This disease is going to kill me because they won't let you open. You can't. But I held on, and I don't know what happened, but after COVID, things just took a turn for the best. I mean, I can't explain it. I don't know what happened, but business just started to boom. But again, like I said, a lot of those malls closed. I mean,
Yes.
Crystal Ball, you see it now, it's a ghost town. Rhode Island Mall is
Same thing.
Right, just a shell of itself. And Warwick Mall, I mean, that's probably doing pretty good. But they're all struggling. Even that Providence Place, as big as they were, they struggled. They went into bankruptcy or Chapter 11. But they're doing better, too.
But Toscano's is a generational store.
Yeah, I mean...
And everybody who's come in today, you've known.
Right.
I've known them.
Right.
You've known them.
Yeah, right. It's just crazy. Like I said, people come in and bring their kid in to get a prom thing. Say, you did my wedding, or you did my prom too. I said, thanks for making me old. But yeah, it's been a long run, but a fruitful run. I mean,
There's some satisfaction owning your own
absolutely
business and
right.
helping people
There
out.
is.
And
Right,
you've done plenty
exactly.
of that.
Right, exactly. And I have no regrets now. You know, I mean, like I say, Westerly is booming right now. Westerly is probably doing better than it ever has from the time that I started. And I've seen it when it was good. When you come down here on a Friday night, and you could not find a parking place. You could not walk on the sidewalk without having to move to the side. And like I tell people, the United Theater was open then in China Village. And in those days, we were open till 8 o'clock on Friday. And Friday night, there would be a line in front of my store going to the United Theater and another line going that way, going into China Village. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And then, you know, that's when things started to die down after that. Westerly went downhill. Stores, shops started to close up. There was a lot of empty stores downtown, and it just took a turn for the worse. But like I said, after COVID, and now Westerly is probably booming more than I've ever seen it before.
Thank
You
God.
come down here on Friday or Saturday night, you can't find a parking
can't.
place.
You've
The
tried.
sidewalks are loaded.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's restaurants. But it's still, no matter what, in the theater, it's a big boom now.
Yeah.
You know, that theater's come back.
They're drawing people back to the
Absolutely.
center of town, which is great.
Absolutely, yep. I mean, they're bringing people back downtown, and parking is still a main contention of people, you know. It never ceases to amaze me. When they come downtown, they want to park in front of the store
Everyone.
where you are. But if they go to the mall, they'll park 10 miles away and walk, and it won't be a problem. I never could figure that out. But if they
That's
have
so
to come
true.
from the post office to walk up to my store, it's like you ask them to climb Mount Everest. You know, it's just unbelievable. I mean, it's just when people want it,
So
they want to
true.
park in front of your store, you know, and if they can't. I had to drive around 3 times before I found the parking space. I said, and I used to tell them, isn't that a good thing?
Wonderful.
But it's
One
great.
thing we talked about before in the early on was your dad and what he did, but we haven't talked about it in this segment. Your dad worked in local mills.
Right. He
when
worked
came to
at
Westerly.
first, like I said, worked at White Rock. Not White Rock. He worked at Moore's first, and then he went to White Rock. It's called Griswold now, but it wasn't in those days. I think it was called White Rock Mill. It was a fabric place, and he worked there, walked everywhere. My father never drove.
Really?
Right, walked everywhere, or if he got a ride, but.
Incredible.
Yeah, we'd go down on a Friday night, walk downtown. He'd have certain bills where he had to pay. We'd go to Montgomery Wards, and I could watch that money going through the listing
tube.
that they had.
Yeah.
My father would be saying his bill. Then he'd take me to Woolworths, and I'd have an ice cream soda. You know, it was just unbelievable. And we walked. We walked from the top of High Street. We walked downtown. And I say walk. I had to run. My father was tall. He was a big man. And his one stride was like 3 of mine, so I'd have to run just to stay up with him. But no, like I said, never drove. Neither one of my parents. Naturally, my brothers and sisters all drove, but no. And we lived off of our house. We had a garden that's probably as big as this store. And my father, we planted everything. We had goats, we had sheep, we had pigs, right? Which, you know, I'm not saying we had a lot of them, but I used to joke to people and tell them that you'd be petting it in the afternoon and eating it at night. My mother used to chase that chicken around, and we had a stump there, and boom, that head would come off, and she'd throw it in hot water. I mean, we were self-sufficient. We grew everything. We didn't need to go to a grocery store. We had tomatoes and beans, and we lived off of that property. Actually, lived off it. You know, we planted everything.
But that wasn't unusual for the time.
No. I mean, old Italians, there's still a lot of them do it now. But this was on a large scale, and like I said, we had My father used to chase us around. We wouldn't even be allowed to go to a barber shop. He used to chase us around, put that bow on the head. Oh man, we finally got old enough that we said, no, that's it. We're not going. We're going to a barber shop. You're not cutting our hair. It was unbelievable. But they were good times, and
Sure
I forget what year it was, but we finally got a TV. We had a TV. It was called a fader in those days. They'd probably not even make them anymore, just a little scare. But man, we loved it. We could watch TV. And then Route 78 came along, and it really messed us up. We lost the front of our house. Now, lost it in the sense that we couldn't park in front of our house anymore and have a lawn, because when they built 78, the off ramps went there and they took our property, eminent domain.
Yeah.
So we had to, we had to have a different entrance to go into our house. We had to go in from Lewis Lane and then take another left, and that was the way we had to go in. But a lot of things have changed. A lot of things for the best. But like I say, my mother was unbelievable. She was, they asked me, said, geez, you're the last of 11. Why didn't you have 12? I said, well, one of the reasons was my mother was 41 when she had me.
Wow.
So I said, that might have had something to do with it.
Sure.
God bless her. And she was the disciplinarian in the family, too. I mean, my dad never said 2 words. All he did was work,
Wow.
and never said anything. But my mother, she kept us in line, and probably shouldn't admit it, but took some shots in those days from her. It isn't like it isn't like today. Spare the rod and save the child. Yeah, well, my mother didn't think like that. She didn't spare the rod. She had that hand working, and if you got out of line, you knew it, and you felt it. Yeah, I think so.
We were better for it. Absolutely.
I think so. But,
so, if you had to share a philosophy in your 80-plus years, living life well and running a successful business, what would that philosophy be? What would you say to folks?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, you have to work every day. I mean, that's one thing I see, people that, they say, oh, geez, I haven't got any. And I said, did you ever think that maybe if you got a job and went to work every day, you got to go to work every day. You got to keep busy, and you got to take responsibility. And if you got a family, you got to take care of them. That's what you were put on this earth to do, to take care of your family. And you can't do that if you don't go to work. You got to get a job, and you got to go to work. And even if you hate it, like I did at first, I hated this job. But I had to have some money. I was probably the last one at home. And, I was trying to help her out with bills and things, my mother. And you got to have a job. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing, is you got to have a job.
And certainly in your position, being a sole proprietor of your own store, I'm sure there were days you got up that you weren't feeling well.
Oh, yeah, let me tell you.
You
that's
just
right.
had to go.
Right, exactly, and I did, too. There was a lot of jobs.
No sick days.
I know. No, you were right. And there were a lot of days that I wondered how I could do it, but persevered, and I got by, and I'm thankful that I got my health. That's the biggest thing. I tell people, and I'll tell you right now, if you've got your health, you've got everything. Everything.
And that's a gift from God.
Right.
Al,
And
really
my
is.
wife and I, we talk about it all the time. Thank God we're healthy. And that I can come to work every day. I mean,
I've
God
watched you with your
forbid.
customers. You're on your knees,
Right.
pinning hems and
Right.
jumping up and down.
It's unbelievable.
You're very spry for 80
yeah,
plus.
well, I try. But like I said, we probably picked the worst time to do this interview because it's so busy. Like I tell you, May and June are busier than Christmas. It's just a busy time of year. There's so much going on.
But we're able to capture you in action, which is great.
Well, I guess it's good.
So one last question that I ask our subjects is, Westerly, if you could sum it up in one word, what would it be?
Oh, it's a great little town. I wouldn't move out of Westerly. People say, well, gee, why don't you go to Florida, spend the winter in Florida, move to Florida? I wouldn't leave Westerly for anything. I just love it. I think this small town, it's not so small now, but I just love Westerly. I think it's a great town. The people are good. I mean, my wife had a hard time adjusting when she came from New London, so it can be a little cliquish. But right now, she feels the same as I do. That you just can't beat Westerly. It's a great little town. It's not an expensive place to live. You can live modestly, and I mean, things have gotten a little out of hand now. I mean, try to buy a house, like my wife would say to me, "Geez, we should sell our house. We could get a lot of money for
Where
it."
you gonna
I said,
go?
"You're right." That's what I thought. I said, "You're absolutely right." I said, where are we going to go after that? That we're going to find where we're going to go live in a tent? I said, you'd have to have twice the money that I got when I sold it for to buy something else. So, no, I just love Westerly, and I just hope I can just keep my health. That's all that matters.
And I'm sure I can speak for everybody in Westerly, but Westerly loves Paul Gencarella.
Well, thank you.